Good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I am hosting this AI Scribing Tools webinar from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations. I'm deeply grateful to be on this land and recognize and respect the enduring connection that these nations have with it. Welcome to today's webinar on AI medical scribing tools. We're very excited about this. We're wanting to bring this to you so that you can hear from our colleagues. It is specially tailored for family doctors in BC. And as healthcare providers, accurate and efficient documentation is crucial for delivering quality patient care. With the rise of AI technology, scribing tools are becoming a game changer in this field, helping to streamline this process that is becoming a game changer in this field, helping to streamline this process and focus more on what truly matters, and it's that communication with your patients. This is today's agenda, and I would like to do a quick poll. Have you already tested, used, or are you currently testing using an AI scribing tool? I think that's good enough. We have, let me share the results. We have 68%. So a third of you have tested or are using an AI scribing tool. So that's good, because you will be able to share some experience, learn a little bit more, and everyone else will get hopefully a lot of benefit from the expertise of your colleagues. Today, we're going to be having 4 speakers present to you. We want to welcome Dr. Daniel Ngui. He's in Vancouver. Everyone else is from the North Shore. Dr. Krystine Sambor, Dr. Maryam Zeineddin, and Dr. Pedro Gonzalez. Each of them are experts and in using an AI scribing tool or testing several, and they will share their unique perspectives throughout this session. And I'll be happy to be introducing them individually as we move through the webinar. Before we get started with the first presentation, I'd like to share some housekeeping notes. We will have a Q&A session at the end of their presentations. And so we will appreciate if you can add all your questions in the chat, and we will be able to address them towards the end. So let's get started with our first presentation by Dr. Daniel Ngui. He's a family physician and medical director at Fraser Street Medical in South Vancouver. Dr. Ngui is a clinical professor with UBC with the Department of Family Medicine, involved in teaching medical trainees and family practice residents, and is also the co-chair for the St. Paul CME program. He's involved with national physician organizations focused on physician education, on the knowledge translation of guidelines, and develops CME programs and speaks at the local, regional, and national level, including the British Columbia Diabetes Canada and Canadian Cardiovascular Society Lipid Clinical Practice Guidelines. I hope I said that all right. So I will leave it to you, Dr. Ngui. There you go.
Thank you so much, Marilu, Candace, and all the North Shore divisions. Thank you very much for allowing a Vancouver divisions doctor to join your party. It seems like you guys have way better talks than Vancouver division, so kudos to you guys. As a family doctor, I think that the challenging thing is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, because it's basically insanity. And after 24 years of being in practice, I thought that we should try something new. So I wanted to share with you my experience from 3,500 AI generated notes. I've been a user since January 16th, 2024, and I am going to share with you my honest opinion about what you need to do to not make the same mistakes I did. I would encourage you to ask the questions in the chat now and throughout the talk, because I'm going to leave and before the live presentation and the Q&A. So I just wanted to encourage you to ask questions in the chat, and all the speakers are welcome to be aware of them and answer them. So what will you get out of my talk? Well, first of all, you'll get something very practical, and you'll get something that is very evidence-based. The topic that I've been assigned on the right-hand side is to ensure I don't make you fall asleep. and to ensure that you give up your warm summer evening to learn something that will help you tomorrow. And I'm going to share something that will help you tomorrow and into the future. So the question is, why should I use it? How does it actually work? What do you have to remember about what you need to do? What have I learned from using my AI Scribe? And what features are most important that each and every one of you should go through a checklist when selecting your AI Scribe? And once again, please ask questions to any of the speakers at the chat and at any time. So these are my disclosures. I have relationships that do provide me with learning opportunities all around the world, as well as I've been involved with my own divisions and with medical education. So I really felt this was important for me to give back to the medical community. So knowing that, one of the talks that I helped to arrange during the post-pandemic phase is what can we do to make sure that we survive as we're all dealing with clinician burnout. So we all have lots of forums to do. We all have crazy schedules where we have to deal with our families, pickup schedules, as well as making sure that the extra patients are seen during the day. We often don't have enough MOA staff, medical office staff. We don't have enough pharmacists, and we certainly don't have enough family physicians in our offices to support all the patients that need help. But what's changed for all of us is that there's becoming an increasing administrative burden, and there's increasing forms and charts. So AI can come to the rescue. The second thing I'd like to say is, why should you think about AI now? Very few of you, 1/3 have tried it and 2/3 haven't. But you all will face a BC College of Physicians and Surgeons assessment. And I used to work for the program, so I know that it's a peer assessment, but it's very stressful. And so my question for all of you is that for your 20, 30, 40, or your 50 patients you see per day, realistically, in the good old days, in a 10-minute spot, without you having to do extra work at home, was it easy for you to capture what was the reason for the visit, what was found during your visit, and what was the plan? So honestly, it was a little difficult. And if you take a picture of the QR code, that is the link to the actual requirements for proper documentation as suggested by the BC College of Physicians and Surgeons peer enhancement program, which I used to work for. So take a photo of that and it'll take you to the link. I would encourage you to take some photos of my slides because I'm happy to share these with you. So before we think about AI scribes, you guys, the people that were involved with GPSC and now the family practices, and now with longitudinal family practice with team-based care, we thought about ways of addressing clinician burnout and improving capacity through delegating tasks to our MOAs, our super MOAs, by using technology to automate some of that, including recall tasks in our EMR. We also thought about optimizing electronic medical record templates. We all had our macros for cough, colds, COPD action plans, or diabetes flow sheets. And many of us were using voice dictation. And those were the good old days. And my argument to you is that AI Scribe is the next generation, the new revolution. And I think all of you are great that you're here to listen. So now into the literature. What does the literature say? The bottom line is that AI can help us, but not only us, not only our medical office assistant team members, not only our colleagues who can finally read our notes, but our patients will benefit from it because it's gonna, and it has been altering the landscape of healthcare delivery as we know it. AI allows physicians to function to the top of their clinical skills, focus on things other than clerical work and typing. And I think a lot of the times when you type or when you have to dictate or when you have to finish a note, that is a lot of burnout causing brain power that you don't have to spend when you use an AI scribe. AI scribes reduce the stress from repetitive tasks and documentation burdens. And I think that as leaders in your own clinic, and the reason why I've done this is for my own 8 physicians and NPs that work within our own clinic, I had to take the lead to understand it, to embrace it for my own personal growth. And I also have to guide my team members. So that's the link down below. Not only is it prevalent in the literature, but from a Canadian family physician point of view, the CFPC journal wrote about it recently in March of 2024. So the QR code, if you snap at, it'll take you to the link. And what does the author say? AI has the opportunity to improve our operational efficiencies. It will definitely considerably reduce clinician burnout. And if you're going to adopt any type of AI in your practice, it seems a little bit more applicable, a little bit lower risk, and a little bit easier to adopt than other clinical applications of artificial intelligence. So for example, today I've been playing around with using an AI program to help me guide my young trainees, or to ask myself, I need to remind myself for sarcopenia, what is the screening test for sarcopenia? And I used an AI program for that, but I think using an AI scribe is a lot less stressful and a lot less worrisome and a lot easier to use. Now, across the board, the Americans have also looked at this, and we know the Americans are really into efficiency, health maintenance organization, systematic change. And this author looked at programs, and they definitely also agree it has a chance to reduce your administrative burden. So have a look at that link in that QR code. So why adopt AI scribes? Well, many of you are very science-based and want to know the latest literature. My responsibility for my section is to share with you all the medical legal articles that you may need to know about, whether it be the ethical issues that the CMPA has, whether it be what is the advice that you must document when you're using AI with your patients. I would encourage all of you, before you finally choose an AI program, that you look at that. And many organizations, like for example, our local North Shore divisions of family practice, as a medical organization, you guys are trying to take the stress out of clinicians trying to adopt it. But not only that, is Doctors of Manitoba, Doctors of Ontario, Ontario MD, they've already done all the legwork. So I encourage you guys to take a photo of this slide and make sure that you go ahead and see these resources, which are the latest and greatest. So everyone take a picture. I'm moving on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here is the next series of articles that could be beneficial for you. Besides these medical legal articles, they're actually published in the literature. So I belong to This Changed My Practice in Vancouver, and this was talked about, and a very elegant article talked about how AI works and what the future will hold. But the New England Journal of Medicine also talked about a study from Kaiser Permanente, where they actually tried to implement it amongst thousands of doctors, and they felt that an hour of administrative time could be saved if people use AI. Different articles that have been recently published, studied in dermatology, as well as it's been in the news. So I want you to take a photo of this so that you can be most prepared when you choose your own AI program, that you've known the literature. Now I'm looking at the question and answer period. There's only one lonely question from Tuktam that we're going to make sure we answer the questions through, but I would encourage each and every one of you to ask questions. So Marilu wanted me to ask, to comment on what did I learn about using my AI program. And I'm trying to be very unbiased, and I'm not trying to guide you to choose one AI program. But what I learned from using my AI program is that it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. And the CMPA simply says, make sure that you're, number one, getting consent once at least for the patient. And for me, I basically ask them, oh, what's new for you? Have you been on holiday? Have you been traveling? And then eventually patients tell me, and I say, well, would you like to know something new about me? And they say, oh, doctor, that's you never tell me to talk about yourself. What's new about you? And I go, I'm using a new AI program. It's designed so that I can spend more time with you. I can do a better job. Is that okay with you? And that's the extent of the consent that I get, and I add it to the profile. So I never have to document or look. I know exactly where to look if I've asked for consent before. The number 2 item is that you have to ensure that as a user, you're ensuring patient privacy. So for example, you never put the person's first name and last name into a dictation, so that that type of privacy is done, as well as you don't really want to do it in the Air Canada lounge because you need to have a ability to capture the conversation where nobody listens to you. Number 3, and finally, this is your note. It's not the AI's note. The AI computer is not going to get into trouble if there's an error or an omission or something that's not clear. So number 3 is that you are responsible for checking the quality of the note. Exercise caution, everyone. So moving onwards, I also wanted to share with you that the thing I've learned from using my AI program and 3,500 patient generated notes later, is that for me personally, it's given me freedom. And, you know, I have been able to keep my hair for the last year because I'm not so stressed out about trying to keep up with my notes. I feel like my personal capacity has improved because I'm much more effective at capturing notes. I have really noticed that I'm up to date with all my EMR tasks. And everyone, put your hand up if you remember the days where you've been really busy and you've had like 200 tasks that you really need to catch up to. Yeah, I can see all of you, you're putting your hand up. I have actually 10 tasks at a time now. So what I've found is that AI has helped me as a clinician because I'm more flexible, I'm happier, I'm less burnt out, I'm more capable to see other patients. It's ideal for me to think out my thoughts in terms of pre-charting, sharing my plan with my team members as well as with my trainees. And for patients, they like it because they actually think I'm listening to them, which I am listening to them, but they love it when I recount their histories. I go, do you remember the time you told me about that medical issue you had and we figured it out? And so they love that. And I think they love the fact that I'm more accessible. So the last thing I'm going to kind of round out to, because I have probably 5 minutes left, is I have a few tips for you. Why wait? Don't wait. Try it now because all the programs have a free trial. I would just go through several, but I would encourage you to have a systematic approach. Choose one or two of the super users at your clinic to rate these next few questions on a scale of 1 to 10, and then meet as a group and make sure that you're answering for the group. Does this program I'm actually reviewing have the ability to do ... And the bottom line is you want to find a program that works for you. There is no perfect program out there. I'll say it again. There's no perfect program out there. But for me, the reason why I chose my program, it is the most flexible, the most customizable. For me, it's the easiest, fastest to access, and it's the most efficient way for me to produce the highest quality draft of the note. And I tried 3 or 4 programs before I chose mine. And you just have to make sure that the program and the company will be around for a while. So knowing this, you may want to take a picture of this. Please take a picture of this now, because these are the key questions, and I'll go through each one of them. Marilu, can I have another 2 minutes? Is that okay? Everyone, I don't see any questions. Yeah, excellent, Candace. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, yes.
So I know that I speak fast. I know that I speak loud when I'm excited. I'm sorry, I'm so excited about this, but I wanted to share with you the David Letterman, Daniel Ngui top tips for when you're choosing a AI scribe. So number one, you definitely want to think about a program that is speedy and allows you to log in without two-factor authentication unless you really want to be secure, that allows you to use either a phone app or a desktop and multiple locations. Because for me, today I was walking into my pharmacist's room who was doing a med review, and I was able to bring my phone to capture it. My resident was in a different room, and I was able to use the desktop to capture that in a different room. And I had my own room where I was able to use my phone and to capture that. So speed of access and the ease of access. That also speaks to the number of platforms you can use. So for me, I have my phone, I have my desktop computer, which I use a Bluetooth conference speakerphone, so it can capture all the quiet conversations. And I find that if I've used a conference speakerphone by Bluetooth, the quality is excellent. The third thing you might want to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, does this AI program on a scale of 1 to 10 allow you to be really efficient and multitask? Because family physicians are the best multitaskers in the world. But unless the program is designed for multitasking, it won't work. So I'll give you an example. A lot of companies tout, oh, we're integrated into the EMR. But do you really want that? Because for me, the whole point of having an ambient scribe is I start it, I set it, and I forget it. And I'm using my EMR, I'm kind of reviewing it with the patient. And because it's a separate program, for me, it's very efficient for multitasking. So always ask yourself the question, is it going to work in the real world? The fourth thing, in no particular order, was that for me, it was very important to be able to customize the templates, whether it be an in-person visit, a telemedicine visit, a pre-charting note, or a team-based care note, because the more likely you are to choose the right template, the less editing you have to do at the very end. Each program has the ability to either produce a patient handout, a SOAP note, a consult note. And so I think it's very important that you look at that feature. And finally, I think the most important thing is the quality of the AI note generation. Not all programs are created equally. Some use ChatGPT 3.0, 4.0, some are using 4.0. So you need to ask your vendor, what version of your AI engine are you using? Because not all AI generated notes are created equally. So my example is that when I chose my 3 or 4 programs, I had one program that was producing a note like a first year fine arts student. Nothing wrong with fine arts students, but you just have to do a lot more when you're editing it. The second, it was pretty good. It was 2-factor authentication, and it was slow to log in, and it kind of slowed me down, but it produced a pretty good note. It was like a first-year medical student. Now, the one I'm using now, it is the most like a second-year resident where they're actually documenting the notes. And you remember the good old days when you actually had the interest and time and energy to have a perfect note? Mine is like a second-year family medicine resident on their final rotation. So the last slide I have is, take a picture of that, is that when you're choosing a vendor, make sure that you have a vendor that is local vendor access and local support. So oftentimes the company may be in Ontario, you don't know them, you can't get a hold of them. For me, I can call up my vendor and I can say, hey, I have this feature request. I'd like to know what to do about this. And I also have the ability to say, hey, you know, I need to negotiate as a team. How can we get a better rate on this? And the vendor is here in town. Make sure the company you're choosing has a good long-term outlook. A lot of these startups, they sound great, but they may die, and then it'll be like a pedo EMR where some of the EMRs are bought over by others, some close, and then you have to change to a different EMR. Can you imagine how hard it would be for you today to switch to a different EMR? The bigger the company, the more stable the company, the more likely it's going to grow. And finally, not all companies have the right type of appropriate medical directorship. So you could have a company that is all run by IT folk, as opposed to having IT team asking a board member of advisory physicians, hey, what is this important feature? Why is this feature important? And so for our the one I chose for my clinic, that company, it is definitely backed by a medical advisory board of physicians. Other things are extra features such as ambient and direct dictation ability. So right now I've got rid of my Dragon 1 subscription because I have the ability to do both ambient and direct dictation at the same time. I also think that because I can search for uncopied notes, you know, sometimes you do get behind, and it's very easy for me to organize or look for names of patients. And then in my particular EMR, Emma is the AI avatar. And so Emma, when I have a problem when I've chosen the wrong sex, or I've got the wrong name of the patient, or a spelling mistake, or they keep spelling the name of the medication slightly incorrect, I can simply say, hey, Emma, can you please change the sex of this note from male to female? Or, hey, Emma, I got the right spelling for this medication. And it can actually change the entire note for me. So for me, these were the important features. And the last slide I have before I hand it over to my team is that if you're going to do this, whether you're a clinic of 2 or 1, or if you're a clinic of 5 or 10, you need to be strategic. So think about having a team-based approach, get 2 or 3 people to rate that, and look at all of these boxes. Is it interoperable? How are you going to roll out? And maybe talk to your divisions or talk to your PSP coach about, you know, finding an ideal way to get this rolled out. But for me, I just wanted to say to you that the time is now. Don't delay. Why would you delay when there's so much literature, when there's so much opportunity to help you, yourself, and your patients? Unless you're not burnt out, unless you're happy with 40 patients a day, unless you're always going home at time, and unless you already have, you know, no charting to do, then you don't need an AI scribe. But for most clinicians, they need an AI scribe. We talked about, you know, what you need to do in terms of what I've learned from choosing my own EMR, and most importantly, the last few slides were have a systematic approach. Ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. What feature is most important? And these are what I've learned from 3,500 patient encounters. And these are the things I learned from actually trying out 3 or 4 programs. And with that, I'll hand it over.
Thank you so much, Thank you so much for sharing all of that. You forgot to mention what tool you're using. There's a lot of questions around that. What's your preferred tool?
So now that you asked me, I can seem unbiased. Everyone, there's no one perfect EMR and there's no one perfect AI scribe, but I'm using Empathia. I definitely tried Tali, Mutato. I tried a startup company with a medical student that was going back and forth. And I just found that Empathia for me had all of the best picture. It had all of the tick boxes. It rated 10 out of 10 out of all of those. But you have to choose your own and you have to try each and every one. But the last thing I'll say to you is that Marilu, congratulations. She actually got a list of PDF that is clickable, so you can try all the EMR companies. I would encourage to do a short list of 3 or 4 and then try each one. And if you want to try a free trial for Empathia, there's a free 1,200-minute trial with that QR code on that page. But enough said. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ngui. That was a great sharing of all your experience. I think you have a lot more, but this is a great idea of what to expect for many of us. Thank you so much.
And you will come back, right?
Yes, definitely. Okay, our next speaker is Dr. Krystine Sambor. She's a very strong advocate for technology. So it is a pleasure to invite Krystine, and she's tested so many tools that I was really impressed and thankful because she shared a lot of that with me. Krystine is a family physician at the North Shore Medical Group, and she's a board member at the North Shore Division of Family Practice as well. So here are your slides, Dr. Sambor.
I got them. Yeah, can you see them?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Marilu, and thanks, Daniel. It's an interesting topic. I love that we're called experts, even though I think I started with AI maybe about 9 months ago. So it's a really rapidly evolving field, and we're all kind of learning as we go along. So my talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal experience, and then I've been asked to talk a bit more about the regulatory sort of framework about things to think about when you're starting with the AI. So for me, we have different charting styles. I tend to do a pretty kind of skeleton note when I'm talking to patients, and then I kind of flesh it out after my visit. And like a lot of us, I was spending a lot of time doing those notes at the end of the day. And so I was looking for tools that could streamline that for me a little bit. So I started playing around with some of the AIs, and for me, it's sort of looking at sort of efficiency versus rapport, because I don't know if it's as I'm getting older, I'm finding it hard to think, talk, type, listen. And so just taking one of those elements out of the mix, I think, has been helpful for me. So I've tried a number of different AIs, and instead of just maybe demoing them, I'm going to just talk about how easy it is to get started, because at the end of the day, a lot of the background stuff is fairly similar. So the 3 sort of major ones that I've been working with for some time was Tali, AutoScribe, and Nabla. And it is, I agree with Daniel, it's so easy to get started. Most AI scribes will have a free trial for a month or 3 months. You don't need any special equipment. I just use it on my laptop with the existing microphones. And that's a float plane taking off, sorry. So I can also use it on the phone, and really you just need a microphone on your computer to get started. The technology is all fairly similar. So the thing to know is that an audio is generated from your visit, and then it's an audio to text. So the AI is not recognizing your voice or different multiple voices. It is all taking it into text, and then the AI is analyzing that text and generating a note for you. So most of them look pretty similar. They'll sit on a website. There's usually a login. Sometimes it's an app, and you simply just start with a new encounter, and it's just going to be listening in the background. And then when you're finished, there's usually a little button that says generate note, and it takes about, depends on the EMR, maybe about 30 to 90 seconds, depending on the application. And then you've got some decisions. So in some of them you can, I do have to edit them. So I don't think there's many notes where I'm not making at least a minor edit. So you can edit some of them within the AI Scribe. What I do is I cut and paste it into my EMR, and there's some pros and cons to that, which I'll get into. And then I edit it there. I find that the formatting's a little bit easier, and it's not such a small screen. Right now, just because we're starting, I've just made a little shortcut that says this note edited from whatever AI of the day, and then including that I've obtained verbal consent. And you'll probably hear different things from different people, partly because the colleges haven't completely weighed in on the exact kind of workflow around consent. So I'll cover that in a bit more detail. Then really it comes down, as Daniel was saying, I won't go into it in much detail, but just the features, right? So you can customize the SOAP note. You want it point form or more of a narrative. Level of detail is interesting. So some of the ones like AutoScribe did have a SOAP note brief, and then I actually found it was too brief. So it needs to make a decision about what information to take out. So sometimes it can get a bit too brief. So I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I don't want things super wordy, but I want enough detail there that I can edit things out if I don't want it. Many of them have a section where you can add notes as you go along, and it'll include that information. So maybe something like patient looks disheveled, maybe not something that you want to say out loud. So that's a feature that's helpful. Some of them have, when you're looking at your transcript, if you think that something is really important, you can highlight it and make sure, and the AI will make sure to include that in your note. And then there's different things like dot phrases. So that's if I want to say ENT exam normal, and then I'll write out what that should look like in the note. I don't use that a lot because most of us have typing templates within our EMR, but that can be generated within the AI. Not many of them are very good about using the app while you're on a call. So it's one thing to have your phone in the room and it's generating that text. Most of them, because if an app is running and you're trying, like if I'm on call and I just want to capture a conversation, I haven't found one that is perfect at that, but I'm sure that is coming. And then interestingly, a few of them are actually using human scribe. So AutoScribe it was the one that I was using. So they have human oversight, which in of itself has, some benefit because it kind of corrects things for you. But then there's a higher privacy standard with that. So really, it's just start. I agree with Daniel. Just try them out. Try out the different features, and you'll find one that will sort of suit your regular style. So after 9 months of doing this, this is kind of what I see as the advantages. And I think there are some disadvantages as well. I do think that it has enhanced my accuracy, maybe not in the main problem, but there's oftentimes patients will ask you something on the fly. And, if it's been a busy day, I'll sometimes forget that they've asked me to do something. So it's really all there for me. I do actually feel that patients like it and it improves my interaction. I'm not a naturally fast typer. And so the ability just to put the keyboard down and chat directly with the patients, I think has been really refreshing. Initially, I don't know if it saved me a ton of time, like you'll see on the advertisements, it's going to save you 5 hours a day. I don't think it was quite there at the beginning, but what I did find is my charting was much less cognitively taxing. The information was there. I was just sort of thinking about it. I was editing, and that was a little bit easier. If I know I'm not going to get to a note right away, I have a feature where I just label something as an unedited AI note. And it doesn't happen often, but if I just know that there needs to be something there for my colleagues to have a look at, I just mark it clearly that I haven't fully edited it yet. In terms of the disadvantages, well, cost. So a lot of them cost about $100 to $150 per month. There definitely is some room for negotiation with most of them. There definitely are some hallucinations. So that's where they add a detail and you're thinking like, where did they get that from? Sometimes they'll miss an important detail. So I think it's important if there's something really important, I'll actually write that into my EMR. Depending on the program, there's a bit of a time lag and it's fine on a normal day, but if I have a crazy day, I don't want to wait those 90 seconds. I'm usually into the room seeing the next patient, so then I'm a little bit off schedule with the notes. It does take a little bit of extra time for consent, and I'll talk about what the expectations are and what we've decided in our office. And again, there'll be more guidance with that coming up. One thing to remember is that if you do cut and paste your note from AI into your EMR and then leave that note, that does become version 1. And it's an interesting conversation, right? Because sometimes, either say something strange or maybe it'll miss a detail. And I know, like, categorically, I've said out loud, blood pressure is 130 on 70, and it doesn't make it into the note. And, if anyone's going through those versions, did it really happen? So, I think that kind of it depends on sort of your comfort with that. And I do find that charting when it's quiet and the patient's not there is an opportunity for me to organize my own thoughts, right? So, the disadvantage is like, how much are we going to get dependent on technology rather than kind of our own time for reflection on that visit. I'll talk about, risk of privacy breach, risk of bias, and then we've been talking a bit about the effects on learners. So we are just imperfect algorithms. It's taking me 30 years to have that clinical sense. And, question would be if our learners are using a lot of AI, it probably has a lot of very positive effects, but does it allow them to develop their own sort of internal algorithms? So the bulk of what I was going to talk about today is regulatory considerations. So the three things you often hear about is privacy, consent, and bias. And when I first started, I think this was like in November, I asked the college, what do you think about AI? What are your standards? And they basically sent a very short email back saying, I just want to remind you that you're not allowed to record your patient without their consent. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. But it is important that we do get consent. And in a busy day where I've already gotten consent from people previously, I still actually, until I hear otherwise, I'll still let them know that I'm using my AI scribe in the background. So as of April, the BC College has put out just a very high level ethical framework. They're not getting into the details, I think, because things are evolving very quickly. And so I will send a link to the document, but basically they're looking at privacy, consent, accuracy and reliability, bias, and those are the three that I'm going to focus on today. Transparency is more, I think, for other AI technologies where you're using it for decision support. You're supposed to let the patient know that you're using that to help with your decision. And with interpretability, the idea is that, sometimes you have to know, like, if there's an outcome that the AI has given you a sort of a decision, that you would be able to get to that on your own, and you'd be able to kind of interpret what it's coming up with. But I think for the purposes of AI scribing, those are the three sort of relevant bits. So privacy. So our AI systems are subject to the same privacy standards as our EMR, but there is an added element because not only are we storing, transmitting data, some AI companies are also using that data to learn. And I think that's an important distinction. And I think we are meant to let our patients know that that is the case. And in this new guideline, they were talking more about things like ChatGPT. If you're not sure if the AI that you're using meets that standard, they used actually pretty strong language. They said that that data must be de-identified. And most of the programs do that. They have no identifying, no name or PHNs associated with that. But as we integrate it a bit more into EMRs, I think that's something that we're going to have to be mindful of. So when you're talking to your new vendors, a lot of them do have a privacy impact assessment. And there's two components. There's the audio and the transcripts. You always want to know, how is that transmitted? Where is it stored? How long is it stored? Is it used for learning? And then in the case of some of the AI companies, is there a human scribe oversight? One thing that, I don't hear a lot about, but it's an interesting thought is, is the doctor's privacy protected? So I'm sure a lot of drug companies or whatever would love to hear what our thinking process is around things, right? So how much of it's sort of implied that that's also private, but it's a good question to ask. So consent. Consent for AI is like consent for anything else. So you have to communicate the risks, the benefits, potential bias, and the privacy risk. And so, the benefits are, a lot of what Daniel was talking about, a bit of improved accuracy, maybe better communication with the patient. The risks would be around privacy breach, that sort of things. Bias I'll talk about in a moment. I've decided to do written consent because I find it's a little bit quicker. So I have and I'll go through it in a bit more detail. But one thing that's important about consent, if you're going to do written, definitely, is to have a non-vendor specific consent. So each vendor will give you their consent form. And for the most part, it's protecting the vendor and it has very specific language to that vendor. And having been through 4 or 5 AIs, I'd hate to start that process again. So I've come up with just a written non-vendor specific consent so that it would kind of carry through if I do end up going with a different AI vendor. So that's around consent. So bias is an interesting one. I was trying to think of where that would come into AI scribing. I think the classic thing would be, so bias is does this algorithm end up treating certain subgroups differently? And then could this lead to a different health outcome? And I think the classic example would be an AI that's scanning for melanomas and maybe doesn't have as much detail about different skin types. So might miss melanomas in certain skin types. And I thought, well, I don't know if that really applies to AI scribing. And on the CMPA webinar that we'll link to, they did give actually some interesting examples. So it does struggle a little bit with accents and slang. And certainly if you're seeing adolescents, the nonverbal communications, right? So what do you think about this plan? Right. So we'll understand what that means, but often now whether that would lead to a different outcome, I think, yeah, the part about reading the note and making sure that it makes sense to you, and obviously knowing that you are fully responsible for the ultimate note. So hopefully we would pick up on some of those errors. So in our office, we have a written consent, and I give that to the patients while they're waiting because it's about a 1-pager and it just goes through some of the things that we've talked about. I've not been able to find an official sort of strategy around written consent. So we've sort of put one together. And then I will go in and sort of do the main talking points with them the first time, and we scan it into the chart. And we have a way of just having a little icon on the EMR, so we know which patients have consented. And I've got probably gone through about 500-600 consents, and I've only had 2 people decline it for various reasons. And so we have those charts clearly marked that we're not to use the AI scribe. But I actually still get verbal consent every visit, and it might just be, just to say, so just to let you know, I'm going to be using my AI scribe or my digital scribe today. Do you have any questions? And at some point they're like, yeah, I told you the last 3 times, right? But I still think there might be a time where someone might be coming in with something a bit more sensitive, and you know, they may want a higher level of privacy. So I tend to just have a quick verbal consent with every visit. So future considerations. So before I get to that, there's lots of fun things you can do with AI. So this picture, there is an AI tool called Dream Studio. And you can put in a prompt and AI will give you some art pieces. So in this, the prompt that I gave it was doctors and AI working together in harmony. And this is what it's come up with. We're all working in harmony, and AI sees itself as a little blue blob, and it's oozing little drops of knowledge on us. So I thought that was cute, but some of them were a little bit odd. But it's interesting to play around with that AI. So the bottom line, this is rapidly changing landscape. There's a couple things that are actually coming down the line. So they are getting more and more integrated into the EMRs. So for example, Tally has just started a relationship with the TELUS product. So it'll start being more incorporated. We haven't talked about the next level is sort of decision support, right? So after making that note, because we see it in things like radiology, right? The AI might suggest like, Dr. Sambor, could this be a pheochromocytoma? And that's a whole other level of then making sure that we're transparent about, you know, how we're using that. Couple things I think are going to help us. So the colleges are eventually going to come around to having more specific guidelines and standards. So they're currently working on that, and I think that will make it a lot clearer. Health Canada does approve different technologies, and they are looking at starting the process of approving different AIs. And that really helps to establish the safety, effectiveness, and the quality of an AI. So we don't kind of feel like we're just all trying to figure that out for ourselves. And there is some federal legislation, the AI and Data Act, that will really put the onus on the developer to assess risk, bias, and sort of remediate that at the developer level, so that because it's really hard for us to really, you know, figure out the true nature of all that. So yeah, so 9 months of using the AI, I think I've gotten to a point where it does save me time. I think it definitely saves me cognitive effort. And I do think it allows me to communicate a little bit more naturally with my patients. My patients are actually quite liking it as well. So I would absolutely echo Daniel to go ahead and take the plunge. And you don't have to commit if you're doing a free trial. It's really outside of your EMR. You're just cutting and pasting into your notes. And I would encourage everyone to try. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sambor. That was absolutely enlightening, and thank you for sharing everything. I'd really like to get a a copy of your patient consent. It's because I know that
I
doctors are
know,
going
I
to
was going
start
to share
asking
it, but
about it.
it's not a lawyer. It's like us, like me.
Oh yeah.
Taking the elements from another. I'd love for like Doctors of BC or someone to actually, you know, put
Just
out a consent. I can certainly share it, but
for
it's, you know,
sure.
it's not something that we put
Yeah.
through legal or anything, but it's short. And I think it captures that. So patients actually do read it and they get the salient points. But yeah.
Thank you so much. That was a great presentation. And now if you can stop sharing, we can probably introduce our next speakers. We have Dr. Maryam Zeineddin. She's the president of BC Family Doctors, founder of Zila Care, and she's the medical director at Ambleside Medical Clinic, and is here with her colleague, Dr. Pedro Gonzalez, who's also a family physician at Ambleside Medical Clinic, and he's showing a very innovative face for us. I don't know if you can see him. Can you say hi?
Yes, I can say
Using
hi. Apparently, it doesn't show my hand, but yeah, I just thought it was appropriate, given that we're doing AI, just to give me my avatar for today.
That's fantastic.
I don't know whether we have any time. We just really just wanted to showcase what we have experienced with Nabla. That's the program that I initially started using. I've been using Nabla now for about a year and 3 months. They launched in March 2023. They're a French company, but they have offices in the US, and they're very much entrenched in electronic health records in the US. They use ChatGPT-4 as their platform, and I've tried initially about 3, and this one is one that I personally have found to really kind of blow me away in terms of the features. So instead of just talking a little bit more about it, I'm a little bit biased because that's a program that I stuck with. But again, kind of you as all the speakers have said, you kind of have to try your own. But me and Dr. Zeineddin are quite passionate about this particular one. Eh?
And also, we do not have any shares in any of the company, just so you guys know. So there's no bias. We're not actually trying to sell you the product itself.
So what I have, Dr. Zeineddin, if you agree, I have a mock patient set up in the screen. I'll share it with you today. If you can see, is the screen going in there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
just just before we start, I just want to kind of go through it with everyone, just so that we can kind of tie in the other two presentations. And thank you so much for Krystine and Daniel for an excellent presentation. I think we should not only record and disseminate these presentations to the rest of the world of British Columbia. But I think Doctors of BC can definitely be using a lot of your expertise, and so can BC Family Doctors. The screen that you're seeing now is so it's interesting because Daniel kind of talked about all the tick boxes, and I was like, oh, this is so useful. I never even had a tick box when we picked Nabla, but it really ticked off a lot of the checklist that Daniel was talking about for us. So we use EMR Mile. Mile is a web-based EMR, and Nabla is a completely separate entity, is not within our EMR. But it comes in, I tried it, actually. It has about 30 encounters a month for free. So I actually tried it quite a bit for free, and then I felt really guilty, and then I actually paid in, and we pay about $100 a month per physician to use it. And like Krystine said, it has saved time, but I will reemphasize more of what Krystine said. It has saved me half of my administrative time, and I'm not kidding you. And the way Nabla picks up the encounter with our patients is beyond. It's going to blow your mind. So that's why we want to actually kind of maybe do a 3-minute patient visit. Can we do that? Dr. Gonzalez?
Absolutely. So for the purpose of this particular visit, I will be playing Ray Riley, who's a 43-year-old man with back pain. Just the one feature I think it kind of weeds out all of the kind of fluff that sometimes happens within consultation when the patients are talking about their dog, and you're like, well, you just get to the important bit. But I'll try to do it as succinct but almost as broad as possible, so we can kind of showcase what we find every single day. So we'll start the encounter. Dr. Zeineddin will be the doctor, of course, and I will be the patient.
Okay, sounds good.
Hi, Dr. Zeineddin. Thank you for seeing me today.
Hi, how are you doing? Long time no see. How are the kids?
The kids are great. They're gone off to college. And the girl is doing fantastically well. They just got a little kitty cat, which they leave with us every time they go to back to university. But I really want to talk to you about my back pain today. I'm suffering so bad.
Oh, okay. Well, please tell me what's been going on.
So lately, my back is absolutely killing me. You know, my mother went through this. Well, we're dealing with her dementia, and I have to carry her around, and I think I really pulled my back. I just did something to it, and I'm just unable to get out of bed. You know, I've been off work for about 4 to 5 days, and I'm just miserable right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear. Have you tried anything for your back pain? What have you been doing in the last 4 or 5 days then?
Well, in the last 4 or 5 days, I tried a little bit of stretching. I took a bit of Tylenol. I took a couple of ibuprofens as well, but honestly, nothing is working. I went to the physio, gave me some exercises. Honestly, it made it worse. And I don't know what to do. Honestly, I don't know. I think sometimes I'm just a little bit just a little bit distraught with my mom situation. I don't know what I'm going to do about it. I'm the only one that's looking after her, and my dog died this week as well. So
Oh,
I'm
so
just
you're going through a lot, you
I
poor thing.
know. So
Well, I'm so sorry to hear.
really no, and then on top of all that, I gone back to smoking. Now I'm smoking, 20 cigarettes a day. I absolutely hate myself, and I'm drinking a bit as well, which I completely cut out about a year ago. So I'm a complete mess.
Wow.
So please help me.
Okay, so there's a lot of stress involved, and and it seems like you're just coping. The coping strategies that are not really serving you. Now your back pain, just 1 out of 10. Is it all over your lower back, or is it mid back, or where is it?
No, it's you. I feel it right around the bottom here, and it tends to kind of go onto my right leg.
Okay.
I would probably say when it's really bad is a 9 out of 10. At the moment, just sitting talking to you, it's around 7 out of 10.
Okay, so you do have some radiating pain down your lower, so your right leg, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, can you get on the bed?
I'll try.
Okay, now I'm just gonna see maybe while you're sitting, do you have any pain while I'm palpating your lower back? So
Yeah.
the middle of your spine, is it now while I'm talking, just to get a heads up, while I'm talking, there's an AI that's listening in, so that's why I'm kind of telling you what's happening.
Okay. No, I'm okay with that. That's absolutely fine.
And I already got consent from you a while ago.
Yeah.
The beginning of the correct?
Yes,
Yes,
that is correct.
Yes. So no pain when I'm touching the sort of the bony parts of your spine all the way down. What about the pain around the left and the right side of the spine? Do you feel any pain there?
Not really. If you go a little bit lower, just on the
Yeah.
right-hand side, just there around the buttock area, that's when it
That's
really.
where your pain goes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where the sciatic nerves usually go sort of through. And then if you lie back and I do, let's say a Lasaic sign, is it positive?
No, straight
No.
straight leg raise is negative. Yeah.
It's negative. Okay. Okay, well now we can maybe sit up, and then let's figure something out, because it seems like it's very sort of muscular in nature, and your nerves are being quite irritated as well, right in the glute read and your sort of bum area. So the Advil and Tylenol maybe just not doing it. I'll prescribe you. You don't have any allergies to anything, correct? Yeah, that's not.
No.
Good. Okay. So have you ever taken naproxen before?
It irritates my stomach really bad.
Oh, okay. So you can't take naproxen.
No.
No. Okay.
I'd
And
rather
what
not.
about any other medication that irritates it?
Oh, not really, but I don't want anything too strong. I'm very sensitive to medication, to be honest.
Okay. Okay. So and you said physio just hasn't been working for you at all, right?
No, no. Honestly, I just think I need a couple days off. Can you give me a sick note for work?
Yes, I can give you a sick note. Definitely. That's a great idea.
Okay. So
Okay.
so maybe I don't know. Maybe we if it's okay with you, we give it a couple of days. I'll try to do some stretches, put a hot water bottle in the back.
Wow, great. I love how you know the whole treatment planning for yourself.
I know we've been through this road before, so I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Okay, well, let's see how things go. And where to reach me when if things are not getting any better, getting worse. You're getting shooting pains down both your legs, or getting some weakness in your legs or anywhere else. Please let me know.
When should I come back?
How about I see you in the next week to 2 weeks?
That's fine. Okay, so
Okay.
I'll make an appointment up front.
Okay, 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now watch what we're gonna get in generation. So like Krystine said, it does take about 90 seconds for it to generate the note. And if I don't have time, I just go into a new note and it will generate my old note. And I will know all I do is copy and paste, and then I kind of go through the note, make sure it's picking up on the relevant things. It doesn't really pick up very much garbage. And in fact, I even have done the Farsi, and Dr. Pedro Gonzalez done the Spanish AI scribe. But the problem with the other languages is you kind of have to stick to that one language. Whereas for me, I'm a terrible Farsi speaking individual. I go back and forth English and Farsi, and it doesn't pick up my English things. So if I only speak the one language, it will pick it up.
So here you can see the note. Just go through it, scheme it very quickly. So chief complaint, back pain, history present illness. Patient has been experiencing severe back pain, rating as 9 out of 10 at its worst and 7 out of 10 during the consultation. Pain is located around the lower back and radiates to the right leg. Pain onset occurred while caring for mother with dementia, probably due to lifting her.
Can you make it a little bit bigger? Sorry.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Better.
Thanks.
Better.
Yeah.
No problem. So patient has caused pain has caused patient to miss work for 4 or 5 days. Straight stretching, Tylenol, ibuprofen with no relief. Physiotherapy exercises seem to worsen the pain. So that's kind of the title there for the consultation. Family history, mother has dementia, so it picked up something about family history. Social history, has resumed smoking, currently at 20 cigarettes a day. Has also resumed drinking alcohol after a year of abstinence. Patient is a primary caregiver for mother with dementia. And it even picked up that my dog died, which has recently passed away, which sounds trivial, but a lot of the times going back into your notes, patients come in with a frown on their face, and even personalizing this and saying, you go back to the notes and say, well, sorry to hear about your dog. How are you dealing with that grief? Because for a lot of people, this is an important event, and I find myself that a lot of times patients are quite surprised in me kind of sharing those details, and it really kind of builds that rapport. So so a lot of times it's like, why would it pick that? But it considers it to be important. Allergies, not really an allergy, but just mentioned that naproxen causes stomach irritation. It tells you current medications taking. Now the physical exam, it says no pain upon palpation of the bony parts of the spine, pain localized to the right lower back and buttock area, negative stick leg raise test. So it's a little bit what Krystine mentioned about the dot phrases. That's one feature in Nabla as well, where you can fill in those types of consultations and those type of examinations, sorry, and it'll pick up a keyword, say normal back examination. Will give you the whole bit of what a normal examination would do. And of course, if it's not normal, then you would just verbalize the parts that you find to be abnormal. So assessment, severe lower back pain, possibly muscular inertia, irritation of nerves in the gluteal area, stress and coping strategies may be contributing factors. So the plan, take a few days off work with a signal provided, patient to continue with stretching and apply a hot water bottle to the back, patient to contact doctor if pain worsens, if shooting pains occur in both legs, or if there's any leg weakness. Follow up in 1 to 2 weeks. So basically we just basically copy the notes, and that will go directly into the patient's encounter. Interesting thing is you can generate a patient's instructions, and look at this. Based on our discussion, I have outlined following instructions for you. Take a few days off work. A signal will be provided to you. Continue with stretching exercises. Apply a hot water ball to your back regularly. If your pain gets worse, make sure to contact me. Also, if you start feeling shooting pains in both legs, get in touch with me immediately. If you notice any weakness in your legs, don't hesitate to reach out, and your follow-up appointments in 1 to 2 weeks. I think this is again, we might be a little bit biased here, but I find that this kind of really showcases all that encompasses kind of medical AI scribing.
I mean, it's incredible. I have to say, I'm looking at Dean's face right now going, oh my God, why have I not been using this earlier?
I was watching Dean's face as well. It's priceless.
He's like, and I have to tell you guys, I mean, you can go and change it. And the previous speakers are very correct and in saying that, you know, you gotta have to see what works best for you. I gotta tell you, I'm not that tech savvy at all. I don't have time to look through 500 different AI scribes. I went with my colleague Pedro Gonzalez's recommendation, and I was yes at hello, literally. And we do ask for, we get consent from our patients very easily. Actually, I've even asked my staff to put the consent form in their appointment. So it's written in there that your doctor will be asking for consent.
It's just waking up at 4 a.m. and just.
Oh, sorry, we're getting background. I have yet to see a patient say no.
Yeah.
So I have had not a single patient say no, I don't want you to. And when I actually show them the note sometimes, just to kind of make them because I have a lot of physician patients. They look like Dean, a lot of them.
One of the caveats that I found with Nabla is, again, you're kind of responsible for the notes, so I do proofread them quickly before I add them in the notes and amend everything that needs to be done. The one thing that I found with Nabla is that sometimes it doesn't determine what information is provided by the patient and which one is from the doctor. I've had lots of patients where I have good report what I offered. Say I broke my knee about 2 months ago, and all the patient says, "How's your knee?" I would briefly say, "Well, my knee's getting better. The doctor said I don't need surgery, but I'm doing physio." Nabla would pick up as one of the chief complaints or part of the presenting illness for the patient. So just a word of caution. It still doesn't kind of weed out the medical information. It will assume that it's coming from the patient. So if you're sharing something personal, specifically due to medical, that can be kind of misconstrued by the AI system and just put it in there to be related to the patient. But aside from that, I've been most happy with this particular program.
Yeah, some people are asking about what it looks like in Mile. It looks great. Actually, it doesn't matter where you put it in. You can put it in any of the boxes, because at the end of the day, when you complete your note, it doesn't matter. Those boxes all go away anyways. It looks like a regular document. So yeah, thank you. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know this is your Thursday night. This was just a snippet of what life can look like with literally halving your indirect time. And I can't say enough of what Daniel was saying. Please let us know if you need anything. We are one of the 2 people that are using it in our clinic, and we are loving it.
Yes, we are. So that is it. I will stop
Thank you.
sharing now.
Great. Marilu, did you want to say anything before we pass it on?
Sorry?
Did you want to say anything before we do a little bit of a closeout?
Yeah, we were going to do some Q&A, but I think a lot of the things have already been responded, and we will create a summary for everyone. We will also send the 3-page PDF that I've put together with all the links to the tools that were discussed today and others that are being used. And I think it's, before handing it off to Candace, I just want to thank everyone for participating, especially to our speakers, for sharing their experiences, their excitement, and trying to get everyone, a little help to get started on this. So go ahead, Candace.
Well, I was going to say, Dr. Bari was just going to ask a question, but she just left her screen. There you go. Dr. Bari had a question.
I just have a quick question because I asked Daniel and I will chat with him separately, but from Maryam. So I have a lot of student and resident. So when they go and see the patient, they talk to the patient, they make the note, they come and I go to the room, they present. And then if I have extra question, and then I will look at their note and complete. How does it gonna work with me? Because it's when Daniel said everybody has to have their own.
Yeah, so my resident is using a free Nabla version currently, and he basically finishes his note, even though he's presenting to me, and so he does his note, he finishes it off. I don't turn on Nabla again. I just let him finish his notes, and then I just, as a supervisor, I go through it and make sure that, so he's actually responsible for his note.
I understand, but the thing is that so for me, it's not only one resident. I have lots of medical student. I have resident. I have clinical trainee. So it's more than one person. How much of Nabla gonna give me the free for resident? Because
no,
it's
well, it won't be you. So it won't be under your account. They will have to get it from their account. So as a resident, technically, if you're using Nabla, you're quite a privileged resident, to be really honest. I mean, my resident is a R2 resident. I mean, he's very well versed when it comes to writing the notes. I don't necessarily, it's not your responsibility to pay for their Nabla accounts. You just deal with your own Nabla account. You can say, I use this. This is something you can use. But it's also a skill to know how to write your own notes as medical students and residents. So I don't necessarily encourage it as a must have for a student or resident who has never taken proper good notes. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to reserve it for my R2s rather than my R1s or medical students.
So technically, if it is mine, is my account, I pay. And if I don't have a student or resident, I'm going to use it for myself. Because if they are there and they see the patient, then it's not beneficial to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. You guys were great.
Great. So just to wrap up, thank you so much, Dr. Ngui, Dr. Sambor, Dr. Gonzalez, and Dr. Zeineddin for what an amazing session, honestly. Really cool. And this is one of our highest attended events, so the subject is very topical. So I'm just kind of going to speak to what the division is intending on doing. Marilu kind of put me on there as what's next in AI, and that is not me. I'm not the AI person. Marilu is our health tech coordinator, as you guys all know her, coming into your offices and helping with all these techie pieces. But from the division's perspective, what do you need from us? How do we support you? Can we bring you peer mentors and connect you with physicians about their stories? We can do that kind of connectivity piece. If there's a need for group demonstrations, we're happy to bring in these vendors and provide group opportunities to see demos and that kind of thing. We have team members who can come in and help you with that change management. So collecting consent, training your MOA, how are we doing things differently? We can kind of support that process as well. And so not really much to, like, I can't speak to where AI is going. We're very specific right now about AI scribing. And then there's going to be more about AI diagnostics and this, that, and the other. So really starting here with this one session, which has been amazing. Thank you so much. But we will endeavor to keep bringing you these sessions or resources or what you need in order to move forward. So we'd like to hear from you about what you would like, what kind of support. I also want to mention, Marilu did mention at the beginning of this that she's away for the next week and a half. So I hope you don't all inundate me with this health technology stuff because Marilu's away. But we will definitely want to support you. I think Marilu has a poll.
Yeah.
We started with poll at the beginning. We want to see at the end. Where are you now?
So I'm launching this poll now. I just want to make sure that after all these great presentations and role play, I guess, how likely is it that you'll be using an AI scribing tool after listening to everyone today? Please let us know. We're curious to see if this made an impact, and we can already see that yes, it's made an impact in most of you. We still have to convince a couple, but but you'll see what's happening. I'll share the results now, and you can see that almost 40% are saying that they definitely will, and 26% likely will. So more than half are ready after just an hour and a half of listening to these great experiences.
And I have to say, there was a lot of detail in there. So we have recorded this. We will send it out to everybody. I also know there's a lot of people who couldn't attend today would like the recording, but listen to it once, listen to it twice. There's a lot of detail in there. And yeah, thank you so much for those of you who walked us through this process. We learn from you. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.